Hello guys, and welcome to the 13th video of the HTML tutorial series, where we're gonna be talking about more on images. We already know the basics of images, and in this video we're gonna be going a little bit deeper, okay? And in the next video we're probably gonna be talking about images as well. Okay, also from now on, I will no more use Notepad++. I will be using Visual Studio Code. Okay, it will help me work a little bit faster and you as well. But you can keep using Notepad if you want. There is no real difference since we're gonna be using plain HTML and a little bit of CSS. So let's go ahead and add an image. Okay, you already know that in order to add an image you type img. You need a source, like let's say what image do I have here, like camera.jpg. You should type in an alternative text like camera, and then you can close the tag, save, refresh, and yeah, of course I forgot to change the dimensions, like let's say height 200 pixels and width automatic. Okay, so you already knew that this is how you add an image, okay? But what if the image was not in this folder? Okay, what if the image was in on another server actually, or another computer? Let's go ahead and browse to inc.com, let's say, and yeah, I consent, and let's open this article here, which contains this photo of this woman. In most websites, if you right click and select open image in a new tab, you will be redirected in a brand new URL that points to an image. This is the image right here. Also, most domains, like unlike inc.com, have their images stored in the exact same domain, but you can see that inc.com has their images stored in inkimages.com. Okay, now I want you to copy this, come over here, delete camera.jpg, and paste in the URL that you just copied. Let's go ahead and save and refresh your page, and here it is. What did just happen? The browser read this piece of code and said, this looks like a URL that points to another server. I better go check it out. Is it an image? Great, then I shall not display this thing, I shall display the image. So the browser has no problem at all displaying an image from another server. Okay, so this is how you add an image from another server. Also, I forgot to mention that I downloaded yesterday some new images, like this red panda, like this subway here, and this neon image from Unsplash. Okay, and I also downloaded a GIF of Jon Snow from Giphy. Okay, I want you to go ahead and download any GIF that you like. Okay, whatever you want. After you download it, I want you to go here under the woman and add an image. I've got Jon Snow.gif, and I want you to do what I did and see that GIFs work just like all other plain images, JPEGs and PNGs. There is no difference to treating GIFs, okay? GIFs or GIFs or whatever. They work with the exact same way, only they are moving. Okay, so we got a woman and we got Jon Snow. Let's go ahead now and delete both of them, and instead add the camera.jpg, and inside the style I want you to make this a square. That's why I chose the camera. It looks better when we treat it when we make it a square image. Well, let's set a width of maybe 200 pixels and a height of 200 pixels as well. Save and refresh. Okay, here is our square camera. Now what I want to do is pay very close attention to this drawing right here. I'm going to be talking about the float property. Okay, so suppose we have a water tank. Okay, it's full of water. Here's the water. Let me draw. Yeah, it's only me and Picasso, boys, nobody else. Let's suppose here is the water. Okay, if you toss anything inside, it's that is less heavy, that's lighter, that actually has a smaller density than the water, it's going to start floating towards the top, and it's going to stop floating when it hits the surface. Okay, well, float in HTML works in a similar way. Let me actually move this because it's beautiful. I don't want to delete it. Let me just move this and scale it. Great. Now let's say you have an image or any other HTML element with its float attribute set to right. What's gonna happen is that the browser will display it on the left side as by default, and then it will start floating towards the right until it hits another element or a wall. Let's say the right margin. Okay, it's gonna come to the right margin and stop moving. Okay, now if you had a left float item, it would still be displayed on the left, but and it would still stick on the left, and if you added more images they would act normally, with if they also had a float towards the left, but they would behave in a different way than the attributes that had no float property. Okay, so right float makes elements stick to the right, and left float makes them stick to the left, but in a different way than the elements that have no float property. Okay, let me go back a million times. I want this to be clear, and I do not want to be deleting my water tank because I like it. Okay, say this is the page. Alright, if you have an image here which floats left, come on, and let's say a paragraph that does not float left, the paragraph is going to be displayed here. Then if under all that you add another image, it's going to be displayed here. Actually, sorry, another image, another left float image. The second left float image is going to be displayed here, and if you add another paragraph, it's going to be displayed here. What's the reason for that? Float says I have to be, every element says I have to be displayed as far towards the top as possible. Float left means float towards the left, stick to the left as you can. So this image is in the very top left corner. Okay, it cannot go any further. Let's say here is some heading and it actually cannot go any further, and is displayed where it should be displayed. Now this paragraph has to go as top left as it can as well, so it sticks to this image and to the top. Then since this has a float property of left and this does as well, it will try to go as left as possible, but not more left than the previous, than the last actually, left float element. Okay, the paragraph is not floating left, so it's going to bypass it and stick to this very image. Okay, this little difference here is enough for this image to stick to this one. Okay, so the next paragraph is going to do to this image what this one did to this one. It's going to stick on it. Okay, and for you to understand it better, let's go ahead and use the property. I'm going to copy this. In order to copy an entire line of code, just click Shift plus Alt plus the down arrow. Okay, Shift plus and down arrow copies an entire line of code as many times as you want. Okay, instead of doing all that, like copy and paste, Shift Alt and down arrow. Now let's go ahead and enter, maybe let's choose an image. I'm going to choose neon. I'm going to save, refresh. Okay, both images have been displayed. Let's go ahead and add a paragraph. Let's say I like cameras. Paste it a million times. And here add another paragraph like neon glows in the dark. Paste a million times again. And now what I want to do is add inside the style a float property of right and a float property of left. And we're gonna be changing this later on. Go ahead and refresh and see what happens. And let me explain. This image has a float property of right, so it floats towards the right until it hits the right margin, which is 10%. Okay, and it stops here. Boom, it hits the wall. This paragraph right here has no float property, so it will stick to the left by default like it should. Then comes the left floating image, which is displayed underneath the paragraph, because inside our code it is mentioned after this paragraph, and then this paragraph sticks to this image like we said it should. Okay, once more. Okay, before I repeat, you can see that this image right here has nothing to do with this paragraph because it has a float property of right. Okay, this paragraph has no float property, and you can see it wants nothing to do with his image. It will come until here and then insert a new line. Comes here, new line. Okay, this image acts like a wall for this paragraph and for this. Okay, also this paragraph might be above this image, but you can see that this one, the neon, acts like a wall for this paragraph as well. So floating images act like walls for paragraphs that have no float property. Let's go ahead and add a left float property for both images and see what happens. Change this from right to left, save and refresh. Now we come to what I explained earlier. Okay, this image has a left floating property, so it sticks to the left margin. It hits a wall and stops. Okay, this is the left margin of 10%. Then this paragraph does not want anything to do with this image. The image it actually uses the image as a wall. It also follows the right margins order to not surpass it. And then this image comes, sticks to this image. It floats as left as it could. Alright? It cannot go over the image. And then this paragraph hits this image like this one hit this one. Okay, you will probably never use the float property like this, okay, to display images right or left, but you will be using it inside menus a lot, and we're gonna be talking about menus later on. Okay, so before we move on, I want you to delete everything except one image and copy the image 5 times. Okay, actually copy the image 2 times, change this to neon, change this to red panda, leave the images as squares, mark all of it and copy it 3 times so that we have 3 images 3 times over. And I want you to refresh. What has happened? All images have a float left property. So the first image says, okay, I'm going to the left, here's the margin, boom, wall. This image sticks to the next one, boom, wall. This keeps happening, okay, until this image cannot fit between this image and the right margin, so it gets displayed on the next line. Okay, then the same thing keeps on going. So with a plain float property, you can create a plain simple grid of images or other elements. Okay, that's pretty much it for float right now. So I want you to delete everything, add a new image, go ahead and add red panda.jpg and red panda. What we're going to talk about now is image maps. Okay, suppose this is a cropped one, I want a big one. Suppose you want to be able to redirect, you want the user to be able to click on the panda and go to another website, and click on these branches and go to another website. Okay? How would you do that? Okay? How would you add links to specific portions of an image? Okay. This is what image maps are used for. Okay? Let me show you how to use an image map. Go here, add a map, name it IMG map, or actually name it panda underscore map. Oh, come on. Really? Fuck this. Sorry guys. Okay. Now I want you to go here and add a reference in order to link these two, okay? You have to add the reference to link the image to the map, okay? They are not linked by default, you have to link them. And how do you do that? You add the attribute useMap and set it equal to has panda map, okay? If you do not use has, they will not link, and you're gonna be asking yourself, why isn't this crappy piece of code working? What? Okay. I want you to add an area now. Okay, you can see Visual Studio Code fills all this in for me. And as you can see, you have to add a shape, coordinates, and a reference, and an alternative text, if you want. So, shapes can either be rectangles or circles. Let's go ahead and do a circle. For the circle, inside the coordinates, you have to mention the x and the y of the image, and also the x and the y of the center of the image, and also the radius. Okay, so before we do that, we have to actually know the dimensions. Let's go ahead and add some style. Let's say like width 800 pixels and height automatic. Okay, let's say that this right here is like 3/5 of the length, which is 533 divided by 5 and then multiplied by 3, which is, oh my god, do I hate math? No, I actually like math. This is 2500 plus 60. Okay, 3 something. This is 300 something, and this, the horizontal x is, say what, 300 as well. Let's make it 300 and create a radius and set the radius of 50, and add a reference to, let's say, maybe google.com or whatever. Copy Google, paste it here, add, actually let's make it realistic, add red panda, okay, images, okay, so that it points to red panda images. Let's delete this. Let's paste the red panda images, red panda images. Okay. Now let's save, refresh, and see if it works. Am I getting a red hand? No, I'm not. Why am I not getting correct hand? What is wrong? Circle. Okay, I missed a C here. This is probably why it was not working. I hope this is why. And yeah, now it's working. As you can see, whenever I get over the red panda, I get, yeah, I have to make the radius a little larger, let's say 80. Whenever I get over the panda, yeah, I have to make it even larger. Let's make it 100. So, for the third time, whenever I get, oh, I have to move it to the right. Yeah. Okay, now it is much better. Whenever I get about at least about over the panda, my arrow turns into a hand, which means it points somewhere. It contains a link, and if I click on it, I bet I will be redirected here to Red Panda images. So let's go ahead and click it, and boom! As you can see, whenever I click and hold, the circle of the image map will appear. Okay? If I release the mouse outside, the circle will remain blue. Now we can clearly see that it has to move to the right, so let's move it to the right by another 20 pixels and upwards like 10 and refresh. Refresh. Yeah, I did the exact opposite of what I was supposed to do. Okay, now it is much better centered. Okay, we're missing a little ear and a little bit of the tail, but other than that, I'm very happy with this circle. Okay, we click on it, we are redirected to Red Panda images. That's a very cute animal. Can I have one as a pet? I just hope it's not gonna climb on my closet or anything, because these guys seem like good climbers. Okay, I wanted to go ahead and create another area. This time I want it to be a rectangle. The coordinates should be, let's say, we want the top right corner, let's say 200 for the Y and for the X. Actually, I'm sorry, I have to explain first. Whenever we add the rectangle, okay, in the circle we do the center and the radius. Okay, we need X and Y of the center, and then we need the radius. But for the rectangle, we need the X and Y of the top left corner and the X and Y of the top right corner. So this should be, let's say this is 800, this should be 500, 0, and this should be 800, 200. Okay, 500, 0, 800, 200. Easy to remember. 500, 0, 800, 200. So let's go ahead, click Google and branches. Okay, images of branches. And branch images. Let's go ahead, save and refresh and see what happens. Okay. If you click and drag outside, you will be able to see this rectangle of the branches. Okay, maybe we could move it a little bit further down, like to 40 or something. Yeah, that's better. Whenever we click on this rectangle right here, we will be redirected to bronze images. But whenever we click on the circle with the red panda, we will be redirected to red panda images. Okay guys, so this was pretty much about the image maps. So that was it for this video. In the next one, we're going to be covering even more on images. So do not forget to subscribe guys, and thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next video.